Yeah, that's your name.
Squirrels got me.
Big Jim.
Yeah.
Really, 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 really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it, because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yesterday morning, I'm glassing up on the pass, and I see these deer moving, and I'm like, ooh, there's deer moving. All of a sudden, I just see this person just head down, just hauling ass, wearing shorts and a t-shirt with a pack on. And I'm like, is that Tard? My dad always talks about floating through the woods like the autumn breeze.
So Robert's
when you're
the ghost,
275 pounds, I don't know how you do that, but
the Freightliner. It's just like a creeper. You're just kind of up in the corner watching what's going on down there.
Yeah.
You know.
He's like,
he's up there slapping, pissing all over everything.
Is it warm yet?
How did you know the name of the actor?
That's I know.
Why did you say his name?
Hervé Villachez.
You know what pert near means.
If you know what pert near means and you live in America, you're a redneck too.
Welcome to the Log Talk Podcast, brought to you by Pert Near Outdoors. Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? It's a sunny, beautiful Friday morning here in Western New York, and I want to apologize for not having an episode this week, an official Bullhorn live episode this week, but it's getting ready to leave to head out the door. It's been crazy busy with work, trying to cover a lot of ground, a lot of stuff happening, and life has been busy, and the podcast is not at the top of the priority list as far as things I need to get done on a day-to-day basis. So I was getting ready to leave, and I said, hey, I'm going to jump on and I'm going to record something quick to get some messages out there and cover a few things and just get something out here for the end of the week as we head into the weekend. So I believe this is 140 I think we're on. So I'm going to just run through a few things. I want to talk a little bit about the Shed Fest we have going on, what the plan is with that, what the deals are. I've talked about it, but I haven't really given acknowledgement to the sponsors that we have and who's supporting us with that. So I want to kind of run through who we've got working with us this year and kind of an idea what some of the prizes are going to be. So we'll kind of run through that real quick to start. So if you haven't heard of Shed Fest and don't know what it is, there's some misconceptions about it being a contest, or that you have to find sheds, or that maybe if you're not a good shed hunter, there's no point in participating. Last year with the way we structured it, I would say that may have been the case, because if you were going to have a chance to win something, you had to, go out and find some good sheds, and we were going to vote on the best set that was found, and that's how it would work. But this year we decided to switch it up so it would be it is a raffle. It's not at all a contest as far as quantity or quality. It's just it's a membership drive for the National Deer Association, and you're going to get a sweet shirt, and you've got a chance to win some badass prizes. So it's pretty low pain, low cost as far as what it takes to get into it. And for $30 plus shipping, unless you're one of those big boys like Big Willie or men of that size, where you're a 3X or a 4X, the t-shirts are a little more expensive, so I had to bump that up to $32.50 to cover my expense there. But so if you go to our website, you go to our pertnearoutdoors.com, pretty simple to get to, and then you go to our shop, and we have a t-shirt for sale in there. It's called the second annual Shed Fest raffle, and it's a picture of the t-shirt. So all you got to do is buy yourself a t-shirt, and once you place that order, that is one entry into the raffle. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this from, I started it back middle of January. We're going to run it, the quote-unquote entry. So basically the entry is just your opportunity to buy the shirt. So we'll run that through April 1st, and then we're going to have a party at Windy Brew. I believe the date is the 9th of April. Yep. So at Windy Brew, we're going to have kind of a conclusion party. Anybody local, anybody period that wants to come up and spend the afternoon with us at Windy Brew here in Sheldon. I think we're going to do 2 to 6 is what I talked to Russ about. You can bring your sheds. We're going to have some of the people that are supporting us, some of the vendors might have a little display of their product, might be there to support the event. We'll probably have some live, raffles or door prizes there, maybe a 50-50, something of that nature. But, that's kind of how we're structuring this. It's going to be, from now, it's been going on for a few weeks, but from now till the first week of April, and then we'll cut off the registration, quote unquote. I'll stop selling the shirts, and at that point, you have a chance to you're one of the few that have the chance to win some of these great prizes. So I guess how we're that's kind of what Shed Fest is, and when we're going to draw the prizes. As far as people engaging and getting out there and shed hunting, I know for us here in Western New York and the majority of the state, we've had a really heavy snowpack since the 1st of January. We had, I think, that storm maybe the right after the first weekend of January. So I think the first week of January we got hit pretty good with lake effect, and then we've had these couple big storms that have come through. So we haven't, myself and our immediate group here at Pertinier, we haven't spent any time looking for sheds. It's been watching cameras, seeing the bucks are dropping their horns, but just not really wanting to go out and trudge through some of their bedding areas. And one of those reasons is that they're under a lot of stress right now. They're really having to work hard to find food. They're not really traveling that much, so we don't want to be pushing them out of the areas where we know that they're comfortable and hunkered down, because every little bit of energy that they can conserve is the better. And I've heard that point made, and it makes perfect sense that you don't want to be in pressuring the deer all the time, especially if you're one of those guys that's out on public land and you've got massive expanses of ground that you're covering. Whatever, who cares? Just go out and walk and get out there and exercise and look for some sheds. But for us, we've got a small piece of property, small as far as not being 500-600 acres. It's very limited in the cover and the area where the deer hang, and we quite frankly just don't want to pressure them and put any undue stress on them or unneeded stress. So we haven't, I guess where I'm going at, we haven't pressed in to really go looking for some of these sheds yet, which is fine, and we'll wait until we get more of a thaw and perhaps some snow, the snowpack kind of going away a little bit. But how you participate is just get out there and do some shed hunting. If you have social media and you'd like to share pictures of the sheds you find or any of your adventures out looking for them, if you tag us in any of your pictures, whether it be stories or posts, and then if you use hashtag ShedFest22, we'll be watching that hashtag as well and sharing those pictures on our stories and actually on our page if there's anything that pops up that anybody has that's worth sharing. So that's how we're going to kind of engage with everybody and get people involved that are out there finding sheds. And then, like I said, at the end, we will have the drawing there. And I guess the one thing that I just don't really spend a ton of time talking about, focusing on with this is the value of that membership. So, getting a one year membership to the National Deer Association, there's still a lot of people who don't fully know what the National Deer Association is or don't kind of draw the relationship between Quality Deer Management Association and the National Deer Association. So if you don't know, during, I think, 2020 into 2021, NDA was the National Deer Alliance, I believe, and the Quality Deer Management Association, QDMA, they decided to combine forces as one organization rather than have two, kind of white-tailed deer focused groups, kind of pulling members in different directions. They decided to come together as one. And obviously the challenges that all these organizations faced during the pandemic without having their big fundraisers and things like that, that's how they operate. That's how their budget works. They depend on their members to participate and help fund these operations and the efforts that they do. So they combined, and we've kind of become more engaged with them over the last about almost 2 years now, but year and a half especially, and feel that the organization does a good job of advocating for deer. A lot of education, information comes from these groups, and the National Deer Association, I believe, does a great job of getting engaged, both with hunter recruitment, informing hunters and getting new hunters out there, encouraging participation, but also does a great job of educating hunters on the health of the deer herd, why certain things like CWD and EHD, what those are, why they're happening. They definitely engage with with the biologists and the, both local and national level. So it's something that, I'm very interested in watching here. And we know we had some EHD outbreaks pretty severely over the last couple of years around New York. CWD doesn't appear that it's really hit us too hard here yet, but it's something that's definitely on the back of biologists' minds. You can tell on the way that they're managing the herd with doe, with doe harvest and extended seasons and things like that. So I think it's one of those things that, being a member of these organizations is extremely important because they support us as one collective voice rather than thousands of individual voices. When you all come together with one organization with one voice, it's much easier to get the get valued opinions in front of the people that are making decisions at the state and federal level. So I think it's great to be a member of these organizations. I recently joined up with a couple that are new organizations for me, one of which is the Rough Grouse Society, RGS. I'm excited to, next week I'm going to have Todd Waldron and Nate Kennedy on, and we're going to do a live show on Wednesday night on Bullhorn. So tune in if you'd like to listen to that live. We'll broadcast that on Bullhorn and on Facebook, and probably just link it to YouTube as well. So you could watch in any of those three places. But of course, if you listen on Bullhorn and watch us there, you'll be able to interact if you have any questions, or if you'd like to call in and ask Nate or Todd any questions. But that's an organization that's on my radar. They're very active in timber management and looking at, the holistic picture of habitat. Rough grouse and woodcock it doesn't get a ton of attention, but what's good for rough grouse is good for deer, and it's good for rabbits, and you name it. It's all about habitat. So I'm very interested to hear what Todd and Nate have going on. Todd's a fascinating guy. Many of you know him or have listened to him, value his opinions. I recently joined Ducks Unlimited. That's another organization. I'm not a duck hunter. I don't have any of that, but understanding what that organization is doing for conservation and what they're doing on the ground physically all over the place throughout the country. And then, of course, had Brian Gottfried on here. He works for them. So I'm trying to be a member to as many of the organizations I feel that are doing the right things and, actually out there engaging with the public, but also with nature to physically make things better and protect, our precious resources. And I know you've all heard the discussions I've had on here. And, one of the things that's hot on my trail right now is all this renewables, the wind turbines and the solar panels, the solar farms. Again, not against the stuff, but I think we got to be rational about it. So, being a member of these organizations, when these organizations get involved, you got to also make sure that the organization aligns with your beliefs on these things. And, so, you have a voice when you belong to that organization. You pay them money, and you can give them your opinion on things and help try to push them. And you'll really see what their motivations are, whether they support or if they're against this sort of stuff. And you can pretty clearly see whether this is a good thing for the environment or not, or a threat to certain species. Those organizations definitely have the opportunity to show you their true colors on where they stand on these things. And I get it. Not every organization, that's not their cup of tea, and they may not want to step into that arena. But I think we're in a very interesting time right now in this country where I think you need to see some of those organizations get involved and say something, because they do carry, a long history and a lot of clout. And if one of them steps up and says, no, this is not right, this is not good, or the right decision right now for the long term, I think that speaks volumes. So I'll be interested to see how that all goes. But I went down a wormhole there, kind of passionate about it. But but that's the overall arching reason for Shedfest is to get people a pretty nice entry into membership of the Deer Association and get your toes wet there to see what they're doing. So I'm going to run through quick, who our sponsors are of Shedfest. We've got Kafaru International. That's going to be our grand prize, is going to be a Kafaru pack. I'm not oblivious to the fact that a lot of our listeners are straight up whitetail hunters, tree stand hunters, maybe have never even heard of Kafaru. And when I say, ooh, the grand prize is a Kafaru pack, it probably means, it could very likely mean not much to somebody who doesn't Western hunt or doesn't do any like backcountry whitetail hunting where you're hiking in and potentially quartering out a deer and having to carry heavy loads. So this might be kind of over your head on that, or you may have never even heard of the company. But Kafaru is a 100% American-made, high-quality backpack manufacturer. They've gotten into other things. They do have some clothing, insulated like down jacket and pants, some sleeping bags, things of that nature. But their core business is backpacks. I've been running their backpack now for four years at least. It might be 5 years. It's hard to keep track of time, but at least the last 4 years I've been running that backpack. Several different actual bags on the pack, but I've had the same frame for that whole time, and it's amazing how well it's held up with how much I use it for not only hunting but training and just wearing it around, whether it is scouting or putting 50 or 60 pounds of weight in it and just carrying it around while I'm hiking. It's an incredible pack, and I love it to death. And my friends that know me well know that they're sick and tired of hearing me talk about how much I love the pack, but it's awesome. So that we're going to have, they gave us a discount code. So we're going to, whoever the winner is of that will get to pick which pack they want. I think I've got a budget in mind, but I want to figure out exactly where that is, and we'll work with whoever wins it. We will be purchasing the pack and applying the discount that we received from Kafaru. So we appreciate Frank over there. Was messaging back and forth with him via email, and they're supporting us with that. So we greatly appreciate them on that. So that's kind of the top prize. We've got Whitetail Landscapes and Old Tin Cup. Of course, the two of them very engaged with us here. So those two are going in together to buy a nice habitat hook. So that's going to be a prize, which is a pretty badass prize. If you haven't seen one of those habitat hooks, they're kind of look like a giant candy cane. And the inside's got, like real sharp spikes on it, and the outside's going to have, some spikes on it so you can push or pull with it. So if you're trying to hinge cut, or if you're like I've been doing out cutting buckthorn and the stuff is freaking nasty and it gets all tangled up, it's really nice to have one of these hooks. We have one at the farm, and you can grab right on and just rip and tear and not have to get yourself into the middle of it. You can kind of do it from 6 or 8 feet away, which is super nice and very handy. So those guys are helping us with this. We got Whitetail Company. Of course, that's Russ Morgan. Many of you are familiar with hunting Western New York. Russ started the Whitetail Company a couple of years ago, and it's pretty much like a lifestyle brand. Does apparel, hats, T-shirts, koozies, all kinds of stuff like that. But Russ also does, he has a company called Rusty Nail Design, and that's him. He designs up all of his own stuff. So anything you see from Whitetail Company, Russ has physically designed himself. And he's done the shirts for us now the last 2 years and done an awesome job. So Russ will be doing some sort of a gift card, I believe, towards Whitetail Company. Buck Fever Synthetics, we've had Troy on here on the podcast back last fall, but Troy is based out of Rochester, New York, as is Buck Fever. Their headquarters is there in Victor. And the product is made right here in New York, Western New York in particular. And you could go back and listen to the podcast I did with Troy. Pretty fascinating, the story of that company and how he ended up with it in his hands and how that product has ended up being made right here in Livingston County, to be exact. So pretty cool. Troy's going to be donating some product there. Entertech Labs is another sponsor. They are somebody I've become to know through my day job. He makes Ron is his name. Ron. They make a bunch of like fuel additives and stuff to help with your gasoline. So it's a pretty good product, and he's wanted to support us in any way he could. So I offered to have him see if he wanted to participate in this, and he is. So he'll be donating some fuel treatment products, mainly gasoline. I think he calls it Gas X, I think is the product. I apologize if I'm getting that wrong. I don't have it right in front of me, but I've used it in my pickup truck, and I've used it in my four-wheelers, lawnmower, snowmobiles. Stuff works great, and actually used it in my pickup truck and actually saw an improvement in fuel mileage. Driving hundreds and hundreds of miles, I can get a pretty good gauge of that for work, and it's a pretty good product. So he's donating some product there. Quaker Boy, everybody knows who Quaker Boy is. they are going to be donating some product, so appreciate them supporting us. Just Hunt Club is another one. They are a YouTube and Instagram, but mainly YouTube, similar to, they actually kind of an offshoot of the Hunting Public. But John Lewis over there, I got to chat with him, and he was happy to support us with that. So I think they've got some sponsors that he's putting a little package together of items. Brunk Outdoors. If you guys don't know who Brunk Outdoors is, it's a group of guys, actually a couple brothers from Iowa that we randomly met while we were driving down I-70 headed to, or whatever that is. I don't know if it's 75 or whatever the route is across Nebraska. We were driving to Colorado back in 2019, and this truck goes ripping by with the trailer behind it, and it said Brunk Outdoors on it with a YouTube logo. So I searched him up on Instagram and sent him a message, and we connected, and those two guys have been fun to interact with. We've kind of kept up with each other on social media, and I asked them if they'd be interested. They love to shed hunt, so they're going to donate some product as well. I'm not sure exactly what they've got yet, but they're going to donate potentially a trail camera or some swag of theirs. So either way, we'll have some stuff from them. The Deer Association, of course, we're doing this for them, but their branch out of the Upper Genesee, which is down in Wellsville, kind of servicing the southern tier area there. Sean Burdick and his group, they're putting together some nice packages of, like, they got some Yeti stuff, some different things that they're putting together, so we should have some nice stuff from them. Yakota Supply is actually a fly fishing focused company. My buddy Rob Herman, you've probably heard him on here, or you know him. Rob is very involved with that company. Actually, I believe he's now working full time with them. That was kind of an upstart company that he was part of, helping them on their content side, and they've grown quite a bit over the last couple of years. And he's going to donate. I believe they're just going to do a gift card because it'd be easier that way, and people can buy whatever they want. But their specialty is flies. They got some really nice, higher quality flies that I think Rob said most of them are all hand tied, if not all of them, by those 3 or 4 guys that run that business, including Rob. But my favorite piece of equipment that they have is their boot laces. They're made primarily for wading boots, but Rob gave me a pair when we were on our trip to Colorado elk hunting last year, and he's like telling me up and down how great these boot laces are, and I'm like, yeah, sure, boot lace is a boot lace, but they're incredible. There's no core to them. It's just basically a piece of flat paracord is what it is. That's the redneck explanation of it. There's more technicality to it, but essentially like a normal shoelace has got a core to it, and what happens is your shoelace starts to wear, you get abrasion, and then that outer layer rips, and then you have that like rope core that becomes exposed, and then your shoelace is pretty much shot at that point. So what they did is they worked with some manufacturers and got this so that this shoelace has literally no core. It's just flat, and it's like almost indestructible. So they've really, he's a huge fan of it, and he gave me that pair. So anybody who wins that, if you're not a fly fisherman, never fear. There's you could get yourself 3 or 4 sets of those shoelaces for your boots, and you'll be a happy camper. Redneck Rising, another group, YouTube channel, content creator. So Chad and JT are going to be donating some stuff. So I got to wrestle with them to see what it is, but I think they also might. Chad is a former owner of Drapes Archery in New York, so I think that that's what they did for the beer event we did over the summer. They donated some product or they had some like a dozen arrows, I think, and Chad had some beans. I believe they were some actual beans. I'm trying to think what the hell they call those beans. I forget what they call them. There's some fancy name for these beans, but Chad had a bag of them. So he'll be donating something. It'll be something worth your while. Genesis 3D Printing, Austin over there, his business is growing a lot, and it's been a lot of fun to be part of that with him and to be part of his field staff. So he'll be donating a gift card, and the winner will be able to pick whatever product they'd like from him. But innovating some awesome stuff. He's posting some things, and I'm still engaged with that field staff group and seeing some of the unique ideas he's got and different ways to help, the mobile hunter, and not just the mobile hunter. He's really focusing on trying to create stuff for the tree stand guy, and even the ground blind guys. They're trying to figure out, different stuff for all areas. So he's not just one size fits all for, for the mobile hunter. So he's doing some cool stuff. You'll get a gift card for him. Antler Up Podcast, Jeremy and Dimitri and the boys down there, they've been a great supporter of us, and I appreciate them helping pump this and always helping in their friendship as well. So those guys, very, very generous. Jim DiAgostino, he is on behalf of them. He donated. I got it sitting right in front of me here. Donated Alaskan Guide Creations bino harness, and Jeremy's got some stuff from Vortex that he's going to be sending up. That will be a nice little giveaway there. Might split those up or keep them together, I'm not sure, but we'll create a nice little package nonetheless. So appreciate Jeremy, Dimitri, and Jim, and Mike, who is the only New Yorker of Antler Up, and by far the best, because he's from New York, and won't hold it against him that he's close to the city, but that's another discussion for another day. We've got Windy Brew, of course. Windy's been a huge help as we've done our events there, and they've been supportive of us in many ways. So Russ is going to have some stuff from Windy Brew that we're going to, of course, have the event there. So we'll probably have some freshly brewed beer, something along those lines. We'll be working that out with him. The Huntworks, of course, those hardworking some guns over there, they're going to be giving us a nice gift card for somebody to use on their website to purchase whatever it is that you like. They are getting into a lot of different things, not just the actual like tree stand, ground blind, box blind market. They are actually getting into crossbows and arrows and knives and carrying a bunch of things. So their product lines have dramatically grown. And if you'd like to support a local family-owned business and buy some of those things, never hesitate to go to their website. Dan's working to keep it up to date and get stuff on there that's new to them. I know Outdoor Edge is one, I think, a new supplier. What the hell are those cameras? The Tacticams. They're carrying Tacticams now. So they have not only like the Tacticam camera that you'd put on your weapon, but they also have the actual cell cams too. So we were up at the show there a couple weeks ago in Syracuse, the outdoor show, and they've got quite a nice variety of products. So it's not just the place to go and get your tree stand or your stand related items. They're starting to get into all sorts of stuff. So check those guys out, thehuntworks.com, and they'll be giving away a nice gift card there for the winner. And lastly, but not least, we've got Pursuit Outdoors, and these guys are donating. They're a trail camera supplier or dealer, so they've got an online website, mainly deal with larger consumers, that buy large quantities of cameras. But last year they donated a trail camera package. They're going to do another trail camera package this year, and help us out with that. So we appreciate the guys over there, and I think that's a wrap on the sponsors. That was a lot of sponsors. That's a lot of words. A lot of sponsors, a lot of words. So appreciate all you. Appreciate you supporting us, and I appreciate everybody out there who will not only participate in ShedFest but support these sponsors throughout the year. And they're good people and mostly local people. If they aren't physically local, they have local ties, and that's what we're all about here at Pert Near Outdoors, is keeping it local and supporting people in our neck of the woods. So that's that on ShedFest. If anybody has any questions or has any thoughts or ideas or anything they want to do, we'll watch how the weather goes. I would love to try to get, if we get towards the end of March and we get a little bit of a thaw, it'd be awesome to, get a group of people together and say, hey, let's go to this piece of state land and just do a big walk for a morning or a midday. I would love to do that. But it's all weather dependent. I mean, if this snow sticks around, I don't personally feel like donating my time. That sounds awful. I don't feel, you only got so many hours in the day. And if the long as the snow stays on the ground, my focus is in the woods on the farm, working on cutting trees and pruning and getting that work done, because I'd much rather do that with snow on the ground before green up. So, I'm laser focused on that. Every hour, every half an hour I have to go do any of that work. That's what I'm doing right now when the sun's up. So with that said, if we do get a meltdown here in early to mid-March, I'd love to look at one of those weekends and say, hey, anybody out there that wants to meet us at X piece of state land or whatever, I'd love to go do a shed hunt. That'd be a freaking blast, and a little bit of a scouting adventure with people Perhaps there's things that we could learn from other people, or there's things that we could teach from things that we see in our experiences out there in the woods. So just a few ideas on that. Let's see here. Throughout the week, I certainly had a lot of things that I feel like I get passionate about, and then I want to talk about them, and then I come home and I'm tired and I don't feel like I have the energy to want to get fired up to talk about these things, or nor I don't know if people care to listen. So I'm a little tired, I guess, is a way, and I feel like the temperature I'm taking of all the people I interact with on a daily basis with my job is that all people seem to be a little bit worn down, a little bit beat up, and a little bit tired of this last 2 years. And it's been wild, and it's been unpredictable, and it's been for the people that are out there trying to keep life as normal as possible for the most important people in all of our lives, and that's the kids. I tip my hat. I go to these meetings and I interact, on a day-to-day basis with people in school, education and transportation in particular. It's the grind that they are going through, and so many people, obviously it's very close to my family because of what my dad does, but hearing the stories and seeing what they're doing to keep things in the background camouflaged, I guess I would say, the struggles that they're feeling on a day-to-day basis to get work done, to get kids to school and home safely, which is just the number one priority. And, keeping our kids in class is so important throughout this time. They lost a good portion of education and interaction with their peers in the end of 2020 and in most of 2021. A portion of 2021, but we've done a good job, a lot of the school districts here, of keeping kids in school. But it's been taxing, and you don't know what you don't see, and you don't know the struggle that people are going through on a day-to-day, because so many are just so focused on keeping it going, and they're not stopping to complain, which is admirable. But at the same breath, it's like, if we don't know the struggles that they're facing, then you have no understanding of what they're going through. So, like my dad shared the example yesterday at a meeting we were at. He normally has 40, I don't know exactly, I don't remember the exact number, 42, 44 drivers, 48, whatever it is. And he's been operating on some of these days with 22 to 24 drivers. So just wrap your head around that. In your daily job, whether if you in any way have anything to do with moving goods or product, imagine taking, if you have 2 drivers and you get rid of one of them, how do you cover that territory and do the job that you do with one person compared to 2? We can all relate to that in whatever it is that you do for a living. If you're used to having 2, 3, or 4 people on your team, and you cut that in half, and still have to get the same amount of work done and do it safely, physically transporting precious cargo like children, holy moly, it's unbelievable that they're doing it, and that they're doing it without anybody knowing for the most part, nobody knowing the true struggle that they're going through. So I bring that up because I think it's important to take acknowledgement of what people are going through and have been going through for the last couple of years. And that's not a statement of politics or, this is wrong or that is wrong. That's just the plain and simple facts of what people have been living through. And if it seems like people are stressed, if it seems like people are withdrawn or depressed, that's probably why, because they're completely burnt out. You can't take, a lot of people can't take vacation time. They can't get away from things, because if they do, they come back to a worse situation than they left. And that's stressful in itself. I've been there in previous jobs. It felt like you could never get unburied. And even when you were on vacation, you were stressed because you knew what wasn't getting done, or you knew what you were going to come back to. When you turned that email inbox back on, you were going to get bombarded with nothing but things that would just push your blood pressure up. So I'm very fortunate that I'm an army of one. I'm myself now. I don't have to direct people in what they do on a day-to-day basis. I basically need to worry about myself. I'm very fortunate in that. It's a team effort around the horn in what I do for a living, in supporting our customers. But man, it's got to be difficult to be a supervisor or manager and not know every day what you're going to come into and what you're going to deal with. So just a few thoughts on that. in just the world we're in. I hope, we're all starting to see a trend of things that are looking to release. There's a lot of good pressure being put on to let some of these mandates and some of these requirements go, and it needs to happen. And again, that's not a denier of what we're dealing with the virus. It's not anything, but I think we all have to take a step back and look at it and say, like, we're continuing to go down this path, and the mental health challenge that people are facing, the burden that's put on certain, just take my dad, for example, there's nothing they can do. They're dictated what they're supposed to do, what they have to do. And I don't mean to pick on you, Dad, but you're a perfect example because I deal with you as a father and I see what you're going through, and Mom as well. It's really hard to see. And when everybody has to go to work and do something, that they're dictated how they need to do it, but yet, they go home from work or they go to the store or they hang out with their family and nobody follows any of those rules. And then you go back to school and you gotta, strap in and, put on this front. I mean, that's all I see it as a front. And so many people I talk to, that's how they feel too. And I'm speaking regarding the masks. And my opinion on it is that if we're going to, discontinue the mandate for masks in indoor places and everyday life, a lot of people weren't wearing masks anyway. And then now we're going to deactivate that for the common people, but yet all the, kids in schools and everybody who, the kids in schools are, you can't look at the data and say that they aren't the least threatened from the virus as far as death. And that's ultimately hospitalization and death is what matters with this. And these are just my opinions, people, but they eat me up. And I look at this and say, what is the positive that's coming from this? The kids are getting sick either way. Anybody who says that the masks have stopped the spread and have done this, like, did you just not live through the last month and a half? That, like, everybody that could, I mean, it's unbelievable how many people got sick in the last month and a half, and everybody was taking precautions. People are vaccinated, they're boosted, everything else, and you're still getting it, you're still spreading it, and it's not stopping it. So to pretend that, doing these things, what is the harm? You hear these stories about the kids and about, the learning impacts. And if you talk to teachers, they're having a hard time. It's hard to teach young kids anyway. And then you put masks on for a long period of time. Behavior has been a problem. You have the kids that are having a hard time communicating because they're not reading mannerisms and reading lips. And it's like, what's the long-term impact of that? And I think that's what eats me up. Is the kids are the number one thing, and we got to look at the risk greater than the solution, or is the solution greater than the risk? What the hell is that term? I'm trying to think of it. The solution can't be worse than the risk. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I don't think that's it, but it's along those lines. Is that we're doing all these things saying that we're protecting, but yet these kids are losing vital, important time where they can develop and learn and figure out who they are and develop their personalities. And we don't know the impact of that. We won't know it for several years, but it certainly has an impact. And if anybody says it doesn't, you're crazy, because, it does change it. It makes me less social. When I have a mask on, I don't feel like, I don't know, it's just weird. It like makes me feel like I'm disconnected from people. When I can smile and somebody else smiles back at me, it's that human connection. And that may not seem that important to some people, but to others it is. And I think there's value in that. So I'm excited to see that some of these things are coming down, and I think it's monumental that it's happening. But I also think that people need to remember, where we've been and what has happened and who has held these restrictions in place over the last year and a half, 2 years, and denied, what the actual numbers are showing and what the facts are and all of that. Just don't forget that, because we have an election cycle coming up here in the fall, and I think it's really important for people to remember where we've been, who put us in these situations, who's making these calls, who's listening to their constituents and actually voicing the opinion of their constituents, or who is just pushing a narrative of their beliefs. And I'm a firm believer of that, because I look at the narrative and the narrative doesn't line up with what I see in my day-to-day life. And I struggle to find it. I know people that work in all different lines of work, and everybody you talk to is fed up. Even the teachers that are, all about doing what they got to do in school. They come home and they don't do what they say they do in school. So it's like, what are we doing? We're all hypocritical. We're all, I mean, and that's not any of us above anyone. But when you're the mask police at the school, but then you go to the restaurant 2 hours later and you're not wearing a mask, why is that any different? Try to explain that to me, because I don't understand it. So, okay, I'm done there. I do want to say, this was something I was going to talk about earlier this week. I didn't, was the whole Rogan thing. That's been talked about enough, but I do want to say that the other thing was that was in the same time frame, the whole Whoopi Goldberg thing. I think my opinion on all of that, for what it's worth, is I personally don't think that either person should be canceled. What happened to Whoopi, I think, is ridiculous. That was her opinion, and whether you agree or disagree with that, she didn't hurt anybody. She wasn't saying anything that was harming or misinformation or disinformation or whatever. It's like, what is all this? Somebody clearly wants her off of there, and there's probably a very small number of people that had a serious problem with what she said, and that's fine. People are entitled. That's the beauty of a democracy. It's the beauty of our country, is that you should be able to say things as long as they're, like, words don't hurt people. Words can certainly cause bad ideas, cause bad intentions, but let's just like chill out a little bit. You've got, Whoopi Goldberg. She's a cultural person. She's been in our the limelight of our country for a long time, and one opinion given on live television derails her entire reputation and her entire life, whether you agree or disagree with her opinions on things. I think, if you're going to stand up for Rogan, you got to stand up for Whoopi. And I'm not out picketing in front of I'm not out protesting, for Whoopi Goldberg, but let's just freaking say what it is. It's like, you can't, this whole just chasing people around and just trying to cancel them, just like, who has the energy and the time for that? Like, what are you doing? I don't get it. So stand up for people, stand up for people's opportunity to say what they think, and no different than me with this podcast. These are my opinions. If people don't like them, that's fine. I guess I have to get this stuff off my chest and say it out loud, and whether I'm articulating it well or not, I don't know. But I find that most people that I interact with, which could be that whole groupthink problem, maybe I'm just surrounded by too many people that think the same way I do. But I also would love to have debate and discussion with people that disagree with that, but I can't find them, and nobody seems to want to debate those things. If they want to, I'd love to discuss it. I would absolutely love it. But there's just like, nobody has they don't feel passionate enough about it. They do feel passionate enough to tweet and post things on their social media, but they don't feel passionate enough to actually have a discussion with somebody about it and explain their thought process. And that's where I find like a lot of this stuff has holes, is that if you're so passionate about it that you're willing to literally try to ruin someone's life, or, you stand behind something because you see the short-term value of it, but yet you won't even, step out behind the keyboard or behind the phone and have a conversation about it, so you could educate me or educate other people that might think the same way I do about your opinion. We're not going to continue to move forward. But I do see the trend of a lot of people starting to look at this and say, come on now, that's ridiculous. Like, I'll use my wife, for example. Sarah, she does not pay attention to news. She doesn't listen to podcasts. She doesn't, she's just not concerned about it. So like, when I tell her some of the stuff that's going on, she just like rolls her eyes. She's like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, it's even ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous to her, and she's not even paying attention to it, doesn't even really know who these people are and what they're doing. But it's like, it's, even if you're not paying attention, when you see these headlines, it's just ridiculous. So just stay aware, stay aware, stay tuned in, however that might be, whether it is podcasts or reading newspapers or social media, whatever it is, always kind of, I guess I'm learning to be more of a skeptic and ask more questions, look further into things, ask the why. Why are we doing this? What's the goal? Is it achievable? Is it somewhere in the middle? Whereas typically where it is, it's somewhere in the middle. That seems to be where almost everything lies. So just think about it, people. And we can continue to march in a good direction and improve things. And we live in the best country in the world, and we should all be happy about that. And there's people that are fighting tooth and claw to be, citizens of this country, and that should tell us something. There isn't people leaving here to go join as a citizen somewhere else. It's a dramatic difference between the people that want to be here and the people who want to be elsewhere. So that should tell us right from the start that we have a good thing here. It's the best place to live in this world. The freedoms that we have, we can't lose them. We need to take care of them, take care of our neighbors, be a good person, and help keep things straight. So that's that. I'm getting a phone call, so bear with me a second. All right, I have no idea how I just. So that was my good friend Chris Lawrence, the real estate tycoon, calling. I have no idea how I just went on for 45 minutes there. So anybody who's still listening, thank you for listening. Thank you for consuming my opinions, and I would love to hear from you to see if you agree or disagree with my opinions, and would love to engage in conversation about that stuff. Passionate. I'm a passionate fella. I don't know what to tell you. So I'm going to get ready. I'm going to hit the road. I'm going to post this some gun, and then I'm going to hit the road. But if you're still with me, head over to pertinyoutdoors.com and purchase your T-shirt for Shedfest, and I'll get you into the raffle. And I just had a text while we were sitting here from Russ, and sounds like the shirts are in, but they just need to be printed, so we shouldn't be far from getting those shirts. So if you get your orders in now, I would say within the next 2 weeks we should be getting them turned around and out the door. So appreciate everyone's support there. Hope you have a great weekend. Get out and enjoy the nice weather. Tomorrow, Saturday, looks like it's going to be warm, and then Sunday's going to be ball shrinking cold, but you should be able to enjoy the Super Bowl nonetheless, sitting inside, and maybe start a bonfire. That'll keep you warm. Go ice fishing. So get out there, have fun, enjoy life, love your neighbors, hug your mom and dad, go see your grandma and grandpa if you can while you still got them. You're blessed if you do. So thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Keep fading them.